Ladies and gentlemen of the press, good afternoon, fellow Liberians in Radio Land. We'd like to stand on existing protocol to again welcome you to the Charles William Conference Room here at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. Let me recognize the presence of the Deputy Minister for Administration of the Ministry of Information, the Honorable John Ntakwa, my colleague, Assistant Minister Mahavi Yemplo. We are here again to continue from where we stopped the day before yesterday. Today's press briefing we are expecting the ministry agenda. And the ministry agenda will also have the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunication. The two agencies of government are here to speak to pertinent issues in their respective sectors. And like we always said, this is a government platform and we encourage all agencies of government to use the Ministry of Information to speak because this is a national platform. But before we talk to our guests, we'd like to speak on certain issues on behalf of the ministry. The President, His Excellency Joseph Gbeme Horace pays condolences visits to former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
So I will interrupt the Deputy Minister just to show a kind of courtesy. When we invite ministers here, it only will make sense for the head of the entity to be on hand to receive the minister. Like I informed you earlier, I will not be at this press conference because I'm on my way to the mansion. Mr. Sando will be in charge, but I thought it was the right thing to do to welcome my colleague, the Honorable Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, right? When I used to be there, I used to be the Minister of Gender and Development, so that was still in my mind. So my Minister, welcome. I trust all the guys can take good care of you. This is Deputy Minister John Ntakwa for Administration, Daniel Sando, Technical Services, Mahavi Yemplo, Acting Deputy Minister for Public Affairs. You're in their hands. So Minister, you can. Thank you.
So our guests are now in full, so let me just continue from where I stopped. President Joseph Gbeme Horace pays condolence visit to former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Yesterday, President Joseph Gbeme Horace paid a visit to former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. As we all know by now, the former president is mourning the loss of her son, Mr. Charles Sirleaf, who led a distinguished career at the Central Bank of Liberia and rose to the rank of Deputy Governor. In a statement, the Central Bank of Liberia described the late Mr. Sirleaf as an exemplary professional, down-to-earth and people-centered person who will be solely based. The nation mourns for the former president and will continue to offer her our prayers and good wishes. It is difficult to lose a loved one, and even more difficult for a parent to lose a child. Madam former President, we join President Joseph Gbeme Horace to say take heart. The attention of the Ministry of Information is also drawn to publications by certain media entities. This morning, we read in two of the local dailies that the former Chief Justice Gbeme Horace Kollie has been relieved from prison on what they call passionate leave. Compassionate leave. Let us say that that information is false and misleading. The Chief Justice, as we all know, has been convicted by the former Chief Justice, as we all know, has been convicted by the trial court. And that case is pending litigation before the Supreme Court of Liberia. She and co-defendants are behind bars at the Moreover Central Prison. And for reasons best known to these publishers of the papers concerned, carry headlines that she had been released on what they call compassionate leave. It is not true. But let me go forward to say that almost a month ago, you heard in the media that there was a burglary at the former Chief Justice's house. And when the burglary occurred, preliminary investigation has to ensue. So there was miscalculation as to the items that got missing from the house and why did they get missing. And as the owner of the property, she said, take me to my house, let me identify what was stolen from there as a result of the burglary. The Ministry of Justice and the Prison Authority arranged transportation, and they took the former Chief Justice to her house, and the items that got missing were identified to help the investigation. After that, she was returned to the Moreover Central Prison. And so there was no compassionate leave. It beats the imagination of the government that people in the media will be publishing stories that have no basis of truth. And again, we have to reiterate that while we support the work of the media, while we want a friendly environment for the media, we also encourage those who are in the practice of their journalism profession to do due diligence. What return do you get from publishing a story that has no iota of truth? The former Chief Justice is being detained. She's in jail at the Moreover Central Prison. And you are carrying a story that has been released on compassionate leave. It's absolutely wrong. Some of these publications, the motive, we don't know, but it leaves us to wonder as to whether the ABC component of journalism are still being respected. You have to be credible, balanced, and accurate. And so, the short of the long is that the story about the former Chief Justice being released on compassionate leave is absolutely untrue, and the government takes very seriously the attempt by certain media entities to distort information and therefore mislead the public. The second batch of former Liberian refugees have been brought back to Liberia from the Republic of Ghana. The government of Liberia, through the Liberia Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement Commission, on Monday brought back home the second batch of 769 Liberians from the Republic of Ghana. The total number of those returned from Ghana during the period is now 1,533. The government of Liberia appreciates international partners who are involved with the repatriation and resettlement process of these Liberians. They are our citizens. And like the foreign minister indicated the other day, there's nowhere like home. So we have to open our arms to welcome our brothers and our sisters who have been despised in exile as they return home. Lastly, we'd like to conclude by speaking on what is happening at the Liberian Senate and certain media institutions. It is what we call cheap propaganda. Yesterday, the minister described it as nasty propaganda, but it's very cheap. The Liberian Senate has clarified that contrary to media reports, that he spent $700,000 United States dollars on a 4-day retreat during the weekend. The cost of that retreat, the Senate has said, is not more than $50,000. And we have to realize and also recognize that the decentralization of government activities is a good thing for the country and for the local economy. The $50,000 budget covered 4 days accommodation for all attendees, rental of conference facility, catering services, daily subsistence allowance for Senate staffers, excluding senators, transportation services, secretarial services, and security engagement. The leadership of the Senate unequivocally states that the retreat expenses were prudently managed and did not exceed the specified budget of $50,000. The Senate therefore challenges any individual or media entity in possession of credible evidence to the contrary to come forward with that information. We urge on to the Senate to call for responsible journalism and political commentary. It is shameful and disgraceful to report gossip, speculation, and hearsay without having verified your facts, and after you are confronted with the contrary information, then you start to ask for proof. We urge our media colleagues, and opinion leaders to take the allegation of corruption to the next level, by not only causing public frenzy, but providing hard facts and pieces of evidence to incriminate any public officials. We encourage the media, Liberian people, are very sensitive and wise and will not fall for purely cheap propaganda. The government is focused as one body to deliver the rescue agenda to the Liberian people. We conclude by saying that the Senate has spoken. Anybody who thinks that $3 million, $700,000, $450,000 was suspended on the retreat, you have to come forward with your evidence. We need to sanitize the public discourse so that individuals who are disguised as advocates cannot just make sweeping statements. The media landscape has to be sanitized also. I know that not every talk show host is a journalist, but you journalists have to be concerned about people who are talk show hosts, who tend to denigrate and bastardize the profession. We respect the work of the media, and that's why this ministry will continue to partner with you. The government of Liberia will continue to provide the Liberian media, be it international or local, that space to do your work. But we encourage you to be responsible. Responsible in what you disseminate. Our society has a listening culture. People who hear things on the radio tend to believe what they say on the radio. And if not for this platform where we frequently come to speak or provide contrary information, you can mislead the people. It is wrong. That being said, let me now invite to the podium. Like I said, we have two distinguished guests. So we'll take the administrative agenda to do their presentation first, and that will be followed by the administrative post and telecommunication. Madam General Minister.
Good afternoon, and I'd like to begin by just thanking the Ministry of Information for affording me the opportunity to come and speak to the Liberian people, especially our women. I'm grateful to be on your platform, and I hope that my being here will be more useful to the people of Liberia, particularly the women. So again, I'd like to say thank you, Minister of Information, for having me. So I want to believe we all know what the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection is mandated to do. And core to our function is to promote the protection, empowerment of women and girls, as well as our vulnerable population. And to also ensure that gender and the concerns around women are mainstreamed into programs, into plans, and different levels of national programs implementation. And so having said that, I like to get to business. My team and myself, and before I can even start, I'd like to say thank you to the team at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. I do have a dynamic team, and I'm grateful for the kind of team that I have. I'm standing here to represent them because the work I'm going to be talking to you about is not done by me as head of entity alone. So I come here to represent the work that we've done together as a team. And so I also like to just register that and also acknowledge the commitment and the bring to the work that we do. So we took over the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection on February 13. So we pretty much over 3 going to 4 months now. And graciously, we've been able, since we took over, to conduct personnel skills assessment, which was done by the Governance Commission. We completed that, and the report is still pending to be submitted to us by the GC. So I also want to use this platform to say thank you to the Governance Commission for coming forward to support us. We also conducted different layers of assessment and audits as well, because it's normal and usual for any administrator who's going to be taking over an entity to know what is that they are inheriting. So we asked the internal audit to come in and support us, and so that process is still ongoing. Hopefully they will be submitting to us their report. Since we took over, we've had the opportunity with support from some of our projects and partners to conduct a county tour. At the moment, we've completed 10 counties already, and the entire tour was intended, or is intended, because we still do have 5 more counties, is intended to connect with the reality on the ground. We went to the county, or are going to the county, and having different layers of meeting, because we want to appreciate the existing condition that we have at the county level with our ministry. So we go to the county and have conversation with our team there. We also visit hospitals, different facilities that do have the one-stop center where survivors of rapes are carried. And the only reason why we want to see the existing condition is because we want to know and appreciate what is it that's there. Some of the centers don't have medication for the people that are taken there, and we think all of those will inform our planning processes. We also take keen interest in talking to county attorneys. We also talk to different partners, local partners that support the work that we do at the county level. And we have conversations with them to see how we strengthen the work that we do to support our communities. We also visit our safe homes as well. The safe home is a place where we take people that have been abused, and so we provide them psychosocial support. And so we want to appreciate these different structures that we have and ensure that we, upgrade it if there's need to, and so forth. And thankfully, we've been able to do 10 counties out of 15. We were also opportune to do retreat at the ministry, and someone would ask, why do you want to talk about a retreat? But I think the retreat set the basis for us to come up with a clear direction on what is it that we inherit and what is it we want to do, what can we turn in the system as per our mandate, as our legacy project or focus or priority. And so that retreat brought together all the technicians at the ministry alongside with the political appointees, and we did a SWOT analysis. And I want to believe most of us will know what SWOT analysis is, but for the purpose of the public, we at that retreat identify our strength as a ministry and our opportunity that we have that we can tap on to do more. And we also were looking at our weaknesses as well. So what is it that we see as a weakness that we're able to improve on and improve the work that we have to do? And I also talk about the opportunity and of course the threat. So usually in programming, when we talk about strength, we talk about weakness, it has to do with us as an entity. And then when we're looking at opportunity and looking at threat, is what we have outside that we can tap into. So we were able to sit and do the reality check and say, okay, internally, this is our strength, these are our weaknesses if there were more than one. And then we say out there we have opportunities and these would be the threat. And so how then can we, bring the two together and be able to design programs and move the ministry forward. Then in that retreat too, we were able to identify our priority areas and say, okay, in this year, we can do X, Y, and Z. And what we did that was very interesting at that place was to do the SMART analysis of our plan. Is this plan ready? Specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable this year? Is it realistic that we can do it? Can we set a time if we say this year is what we want to do this and that? Can we ready? Is it smart enough for us to do this? So we did that, and some of the things that we had, we realized that we couldn't achieve, and so we took it off the list. And then we consider time, we consider capacity, we consider the resources, and so forth. So those were the key things we were looking forward to see whether we got funding to do certain things, whether we got the capacity to do it in the time that we think we're going to achieve it, and so on. So that retreat was very useful to us coming on board as a new team, and I appreciate UN Women who supported us to have that retreat. And this is something that always affected the work at the Ministry of Gender, especially when it comes to supporting our survivors, those who've been abused, our women and girls, our boys that are being abused. Is a lot of times we don't win our cases because there is no evidence-based farm. So you go to court and the court says you got no proof. You don't have a farm. People go, survivors go to court and they go with nothing in their farms. And a lot of times, at the end of the day, our survivors will go on justice. So we saw it very expedient and prudent to activate the legal unit that we have at the Ministry of Gender, and thankfully, we have Anthony MICAT, who is now acting in that role, and he's been very, very useful in recent time with all of our cases across the country, and we are graciously grateful that we were able to activate the legal unit at the Ministry of Gender to support our survivors, to generate evidence-based funds to support the cases. Thankfully, again, we were able to meet with orphanages. I'm sure a lot of us heard about the case with the American for African Adoption Home, a case that we inherited. So the police completed the investigation and submitted a report to us. And it was kind of disheartening for us with some of the things that came up because children were having sexual interaction with each other. And so because they are minors, the law cannot apply in terms of consequences. So we talked at the Ministry of Gender, we need to take concrete steps to stop the reoccurrence of these kind of practices. And so, in addition to taking steps to address some of these things, we had a conversation with all the orphanages across the country on Tuesday. So we had sent prior invitation to them to come to Monrovia. We actually wanted to reach out to them, but on our tour, we could not because some of them are outside of the city center, and so we couldn't go to different locations. We didn't have the resources for that. And so we asked them to come to Monrovia. So fortunately, they all came and we were pleased. So we had a very fruitful conversation. We thank them for the work they've been doing to support the work that we do as a government. And at the same time, we stress, we emphasize that the rules, the requirement to operate orphanage home must be followed. And what was key on that was orphanages having dormitories separate. Boys' dormitory should be separate from girls' dormitory. I'm not too sure that step will 100% address the issue, but I know it is going to reduce it because I am extremely saddened by the information that children are sodomizing each other. 6 years old, 12 years old is sodomizing 6 years old boy. And it is so prevalent, especially in one county. Just from talking to the partners, name my county, the same thing, it's all over. And I'm like, where is this coming from among children? Is it socialization? Is it a gadget? Where is it coming from? But this is something I've told my team we need to look beyond and really understand where, kids are coming from with this. But with the American for African Adoption Home case, I also visited the Justice Minister on Tuesday again, the same day, and had a very healthy conversation with him about ensuring that caregivers in that home account for the action, because the report informed that caregivers at that particular home were aware of the children abusing each other and took no action. And so the Ministry of Gender advanced the conversation to the Ministry of Justice, and thankfully he has started some work around that, because we are asking him, we officially wrote, asking him to show that caregivers, are prosecuted for ignoring or let them take responsibility of not doing what they're supposed to do under the law. And so they are taking action on that as well. So we want to be grateful to them for the collaboration, but the situation is very sad, and I think it's a matter of urgency concern for all of us. And the Ministry of Gender continues to remain committed to ensure that we look beyond some of the things that are the root cause of what's going on with our children. So with the orphanages, we've agreed that the ministry, through the Department of Research, will monitor these different orphanages across the country, and we may be closing some of the orphanages that will not conform to some of the discussions, we had around abuse in homes, safety for kids, and all of that. So I also like to talk about the sectoral clearance, because it's something that is a matter of concern to people who are running, having different NGOs that come and acquire sectoral clearance from the Ministry of Gender. Thankfully, the Deputy Minister, in person of Minister Curtis Doyle and his team, were able to revisit and reduce the bureaucracy around the processes, and also included in the requirement for applicants to at least submit their application for sectoral clearance 2 months prior to expiration date. That way, the Ministry of Gender will be able to visit your home, do all the due diligence, and then have your sector clearance out to you in time. And thankfully, a lot of them have been giving us feedback that, everything is good with them so far. We are graciously grateful to the team again, particularly the Deputy Minister at Research, at the Department of Research. Again, the ministry launched the social cash transfer on the 31st of May in Grand Bassa County. The social cash transfer project is component 6A of the Realize project. And the Realize project is intended to reduce poverty for the sake of the public, to reduce poverty or improve the livelihood of the poorest of the poorest, maybe the third rank of the poorest of people in our society. So, and component 6A is with the Ministry of Gender, and so we were able to launch the first, we were able to transfer the first cash to our community, one of our communities in Grand Bassa County. And the social cash transfer is $60 million, and it ends in 2025, and there are 4 counties will be benefiting. Grand Bassa County is one county, River G, River S, and Grand Blue County. And so our team is out right now in the Southeast, doing the registry, trying to register all the beneficiaries before we bring them home. So the process is like you go first and identify the community based on the study that was done, and then you sit with household and have a conversation with them. the people who handle the money, who receive the money, are the female caregiver, responsible female caregiver in the family. So it's a family thing, it's not a person thing. So the team goes to the field, and then they have conversation with the family. So if you have the children, you have the husband, and you have the wife, you bring everybody together as a family, and then you tell them to hold a discussion on who should manage the fund and what is it you want to do with that money. So the family plans for the money, and then the most responsible female, it will be the oldest daughter, it will be the wife, will receive that money. So what we also do in the project is to give them their national identification card. So the project is responsible to issue each of them the card. We pay for it. And then we also buy them the phone and register it with the same. So Lone Star goes to the field, sit there in the community and register each household, using the phone. And we give the phone to them, and then when the time and season comes, you just receive the money there. But the discussion among the family is held because we are careful not to create family problems, and so the whole issue of educating them on the use of the money and making them to know that the money belongs to the household, to the family, and so the family should make the decision around what the money should be used for. And, that's the procedure. We started with Grand Bassa County. The team is out in the Southeast, like I said earlier, to continue to roll out the social cash transfer under the Realize project, component 6A. So those are the things we've done, and things still ongoing. The street children. When we talk over, particularly the president has expressed grave concern around people with disability in the streets, children studying in the streets, and so forth. And the Ministry of Gender team considers this as a matter of urgency. And I was saying the other day to a group of colleagues that if you just drive in the streets, you see it. And if it does not become a matter of concern to us now, because this is the future generation, we just may not have a future to look up to. And so the ministry decided to pay attention to the street children situation. Thankfully, UNICEF, our partner, helped us. They did a study on this, and it informs us on what the issues are. And it would interest you to know that these children on the street are in 3 categories. And so the project intends to address the situation not as the Ministry of Gender, but use the holistic approach, the multi-sectorial approach, to bring all ministries, agencies concerned together on this. So we've been in conversation with the Ministry of Education, Agriculture, Youth and Sports, Labor, Justice, all around this, because it has to do with child labor, at some point child trafficking. That's why labor is on board with this. And then we also realize that these kids are on the street because the underlying factor is poverty. And as a government, we should be paying attention to addressing the issues. And so we could just get on the street today and start removing the kids. But at the Ministry of Gender standpoint, we think the approach should be very sustainable. We should look at it in a more holistic way, know what the issues are, talk about the issues, and see how we can address the issues. Otherwise, the problem will continue to persist. And in conflict, to solve conflict, you must be able to do the analysis of the conflict. And sometimes the real actors are not seen. Their hands and faces are far beyond the same, and the people fighting the war or having the conflict are just implementers. And so we want to investigate this real well, and we're grateful that we have the Street Children Roadmap in our possession, and we'll be using that to inform most of our actions. And so we are also working with some of our partners, some of which have committed to us already, to address the situation considering caregivers, parents of these kids. So we are intending to put these 3 categories of children on a microscope, on the planning table, and see how can we provide interventions to each of the categories that we have. So in conversation with our partners and the planning phase and our internal colleagues, we've been talking about providing alternative livelihood for parents, because if a child was taken from Gbeme and brought to Monrovia, and somebody is using that child to sell for them, and you take that child from the street, we believe the only reason that mother allows somebody to bring her son or daughter is because she cannot provide for the family, and she's looking for opportunity for that child. And sometimes people bring children to Monrovia or to the urban area, and unfortunately abuse their rights. And so we intend to look at it using our broad lenses. And if we take a child from the street, the intent is we first of all sort the children up. I understand they say we sort them up. And then some of them will need to be reunited with their parents. And so we'll do that reunification. At the same time, we want to support the family to see how either we support in agricultural activities or establish a small business for them, and then follow through with them, develop a business plan, support them, and show that, and we also have them enrolled in school. There where the Ministry of Education comes. So education will take responsibility, some of our partners too will take responsibility to support us, to enroll them in school and do everything, pay the school fees, add the loans, and so on. The Ministry of Education to play that role, be in conversation with them. Those of them who have passed school-going age, well, former school-going age, maybe you're 12 years old, if you didn't go to school at all, we probably will turn you, or you will fit in the category where we submit you to the Ministry of Youth and Sports to enroll in the TVET program. And then the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Labor, is there to ensure that when these kids leave the streets, we don't see them back again. The other day we were talking about the mining areas, they are there in numbers. And so we having long range of conversation with the different actors to ensure that, we don't start something and it's not sustainable. So the conversation is still going on, and it is our hope that when we conclude the conversation, we're going to launch this thing, and we'll come back to the public to inform them, because this is not a government thing, it is Liberia's thing, it is Liberia's business, and we think that we all need to join together to save the future of Liberia. And these kids are the future of Liberia. So it's still a work in progress. We're having conversation with different stakeholders around this. And I also want to say here that we do not intend to launch this project, and after 2 days, you will not see children on the streets again. That's not the impression I'm creating here. This is a long journey, and I think the ministry wants to take the first step to the long journey, and it is our hope that we will see a sustainable impact on start this exercise. The Ministry of Gender is in the process of establishing something we call the GSIU, the Gender and Social Inclusion Unit in all ministries and agencies, all house. as well as in the private sector. And this gender and social inclusion unit is there to ensure, to support the work that we do at the Ministry of Gender, to ensure that all ministries and agencies and commissions, planning processes would consider the gender component. So the GSIU will be there to provide support, not only that, but to also be able to work with the institutions to provide a safe space for female employees. We know that there are a lot of abuses going on in institutions around the country. Bosses, male bosses are harassing female workers for relationship. At some point, they're threatening their jobs and so on. And we think this should stop. Every woman must have the free space to work, earn, and explore her full potential. And so we are going to be working with the units we establish in these institutions to ensure that women are in a comfortable position to do their work as professionals. The unit at the moment, we have 18 coming up. I've read in a lot of institutions already. 18 of that will be coming up. 12 will be open in ministries and agencies, government, and then 6 will be in the private sector. We also hear about abusers in private sector. So most of the private institutions, we will open our unit there as well. So there where we are again, our national gender policy, when we came on board, it has expired. At the moment, our department responsible is doing a revision of the national gender policy. And as part of our legacy, we want to strengthen the national social protection system of the country. The Realize Project Component 6B addresses that. So we, at the moment, developing the national social protection policy, and we are hopeful that when our consultant concludes the work that they have to do, it will be submitted to Cabinet for approval, and it comes along with our strategic plan on how we're going to tackle some of the social issues that our vulnerable population are confronted with. So we also have the Women Empowerment Project is ongoing. We just launched the policy platform. So there are a lot of policy documents, a lot of laws, a lot of legislations that are not gender friendly, are not women friendly. And so we are making sure that bills, laws that are in proposed laws that are still in its formative stage is expedited, is discussed and strengthened, addressing the women's issue in them. Some of those are the legal aid bill that will be discussed. So the platform provides a space where we bring actors on the table and we talk about the women's issue in those different policy documents, different laws, and then see how we engage responsible parties to expedite the passage where needed. Some of them will require revision, and recommendation will be considered as well and put forward to responsible institutions, entities, and presence to ensure the passage. So that policy platform has been launched, and we are looking at a couple of bills, pending bills, draft bills, the one on the FGM, the legal aid bill, and many others, the 30% gender parity bill, are things that the Ministry of Gender is paying attention to. And so the policy platform will be used to look at it and see what is it that needs to be put in and strengthened, and then forward that to the legislature where applicable. So the Women Empowerment Project as well is a $44 million project, $44.6 million project, and that project has 3 areas of focus, 4, let's say, because one is institutional capacity building, but I want to focus on the real meat, which is the programmatic component. And so the project has 3 programmatic focus: the social approach, which focuses on behavior change using a start awareness for post-action methodology that will focus on the fight against gender-based violence, sexual and gender-based violence. Then the second part of it will also focus on economic empowerment. So the economic approach will focus on empowering women, the VSMLA support to women's group, agricultural investment, training opportunity for women, and so on. And we also have the service approach. I just mentioned from the very beginning of the conversation we had here, the presentation. And I mentioned about visiting homes and seeing what is it available to survivors. And so this portion of it will improve GBV and adolescent sexual and reproductive health. We have a lot of sex workers around the country and different areas. So this phase of the project will focus on gender-based violence, sexual and reproductive health for girls, and so for adolescent girls, for that matter, and so on. And the last one is the institutional capacity building for the Ministry of Gender, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Agriculture, because these are partners with us in the implementation phase. We're doing agriculture, we don't do agriculture, so agriculture comes in, and then we will be doing something with health, so the Ministry of Health comes in, we're doing something with education, so the Ministry of Education will be in with us to see how we do this together. And so the $44 million is not all grant. $26.8 million is credit. The government of Liberia will pay this back to the bank. And $17.8 million is grant. And so this is why yesterday I was having a conversation with the bank, and I said to them that value for money is very important for this project. And the fact that we're going to be paying this money back, the government has responsibility to ensure that this money is applied properly. So to just close down, so I give my colleague who's also here to share the platform with me, chance to come on. When we took over, just as we got in, we celebrated the International Women's Day. That was very successful. We had the first lady, the second lady, the pro tem, the chair on gender from the lower house, the partners that support us, and the women of Liberia were there. I haven't had the opportunity to tell them thank you, and I'm grateful that I have this platform to say thank you to the women for showing up. We had not even spent 2 weeks at the ministry, but the turnout was so huge, and I am grateful that they came to our call and they supported us, and we achieved it together. I am grateful. The ministry also celebrated the menstrual hygiene day with support from UNFPA, USAID, and other partners. We want to be grateful to them for the support. On tomorrow, the Ministry of Gender, the Children Forum, and our partner UNICEF will be celebrating the Day of the African Child. And interestingly, the theme is education for all children in Africa. The time is now. This year we're going to be doing it differently. Unlike before, tomorrow we're going to have the kids interact with their leaders. So on the platform, the kids will be there. All the speakers from the 15 countries, they are here. They just had election. We have new leadership coming on board. And so the Children Forum will be here. They are already here. Will be there tomorrow. That is their day. And they're going to be sitting on the platform, and we have the ministers sitting there among the audience. I mean, just at the front page, and then people, they will interact with the leaders. They will ask them questions around their concerns, the things that concern them, the things that are confronting them on a daily basis. They're going to be talking to their leaders. So we're going to be having the Minister of Agriculture, we're going to be having the Minister of Health, we're going to be having the Minister of Justice, Labor, the Ministry of Education, the Minister of course, Gender, the Minister of, I think we've got like 7. And then we're also going to be having an international partner. We have the Diplomatic Corps, we have the ROC, which is the United Nations Resident Coordinator there, and so forth. So we're going to bring all these people in one space and give the kids the opportunity, the children of Liberia, the opportunity to talk to their leaders, to ask them questions about the things that concern them, the things that worry them, the things that are beating them in their faces on an everyday basis. And it's not going to end there. We are going to draw commitment from the leaders to the children. So these questions that the kids themselves drew, and yesterday we sat on it and looked at it together, and we agreed on it together. They're going to be asking the leader, and at the end of the day, we will set up a small committee, and that committee will be the follow-up committee on all the ministers that are going to be making commitment to the kids. So a lot of them are talking about child trafficking, they're talking about drugs abuse, they're talking about food insecurity, a lot more. They're talking about education, and they want all their leaders to be there to answer their questions and give them hope again. And this is what we look forward to, and I would love to use this platform to welcome all of you. Come and see the kids interact with their leaders. I am so humble and grateful to the Ministry of Information for having me, and I'm also thankful to all of you who came on. And all I can say is thank you, and we remain the humble servant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Gender Minister, Honorable Gbeme Horace Kollie, for that detailed presentation. So we'll take the second speaker, and afterwards, you already know the routine. Next, I'd like to welcome to the podium Honorable S. Mohammed Masaleh, the Deputy Minister for Technical Services at the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. So standing on the existing protocol, I'd like to say a very big thanks to the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism for the level of work being done here since the new administration took over. And also thanks to General Minister for the very good presentation. Having said that, I'd like to recognize the team that I brought along with me. Mr. Dean Almakan is the director for our project management office, and also Renata, who is the PRO at the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications. In a very special way, I'd like to also recognize the efforts of Gbeme Horace Kollie, who is the minister at the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications. He was not being here, was away in Guinea-Bissau, addressing some 13 national issues on behalf of the government of the Republic of Liberia. That being said, on Tuesday, the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications, along with partners, recognized that there was a threat on the national domain, the ARO domain. And without wasting time, we readily informed the Liberian public that our national domain, that is the ARO domain, was being threatened, and so it was just for good to alert the public on this issue. And we work with our relevant partners, LTA, LTC, that is the telcos, and other partners, as in the service provider, to address this matter. As we speak on today, due to our proactive handling of the matter, all services are now being restored. Line ministries and agencies, website that was down are now up and running. You can check the website of those institutions. Our own website is www.mopt.gov.